MC, capital N as in knucklehead, U-L-T-Y.
Say it one more time.
McNulty. M, little c, big N as in nerd, U-L-T-Y. McNulty. N-U-L-T-Y. Got it?
Mine wasn't initially set to internal mic, so everybody should check that. Make sure they're on internal mic.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, my job's pretty easy right now.
They can control it back there, perfect. So don't worry. Yeah.
So what's going to happen here is in about 3 minutes, we're going to roll that pre-recorded open. When it's over, you're going to see a 30-second commercial. When that commercial's over, we're back on. Yep, we'll be there. I'll probably come back to a beauty shot, and then I'll start to show the beginning of the race, the guys getting ready. But as soon as you see the beauty shot,
that way I can go, welcome back and walking back. Let's talk about the teams and bada bing, bada bing.
Yep. Okay. You'll see everything start going here in about 2 minutes.
Good. Okay.
Camera 3 here. What kind of shot you looking for? Opening shot there, Carl.
Everything.
a beautiful morning it is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of brotherly love. We're at the Belmont Plateau Park, the site of the 2017 American Athletic Conference Cross Country Championships. We go with the men's race first, followed by the women. My name is Dennis McNulty. I am the voice of the American Athletic Conference. My pleasure to be with you here this morning. Good to see everybody. I hope you're up and at them this morning and had a good time. You see some of the athletes milling around, ready to begin for the start of our men's race. The women's race will be second. The odd number of years in the NCAA competition has men going first this year. So we're not being impolite. That's just the rules. So it'll be my pleasure to join you today. Talk about the teams, talk about the individuals that you'll see in the races. We'll be back to you later this morning, or in a few minutes rather, with the intro of the starting lineups. You see the team camp area there, and some of the athletes doing their warm-up drills and so forth. We're not far away from the start of the men's race. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
We are American. The conference of opportunity. The opportunity to chase dreams. The opportunity to make your mark and change the game. Because that's power. We are power.
And now you see the starting area here at the Belmont Plateau Park, using the outfield of one of the baseball fields that you see here. And the men's team's just about ready to begin. You can see there's a team from Memphis right there, and a new member of our American Athletic Conference. That is the Wichita State Shockers. Talk about some of the teams we'll see at the starting line. The defending champions in this race is the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. Steve Gilley, 18 years at the helm. His son, actually 5 years, being his assistants. They have won 2014, 15, 16, and ready to defend their title. They're ranked number 6 in the Midwest region. You can see final instructions from the starters. The Green Wave of Tulane on that starting line. Eric Peterson doing the coaching there. They were the runners-up a year ago. Cincinnati, the Bearcats, they were third a year ago. Sam Burrows doing the coaching. The Uconn Huskies, you saw them. You see now the runners right there at the starting line, getting the signals from the starter. They're actually instructing them there. This is kind of a preview of what they'll do. You have an audio and a visual start with the drop of the flags. Now, back to those teams you see there, nervously shaking their legs and getting ready. The Owls, the host school. James Snyder doing a great job there. They're ranked in the top 10 teams in the Mid-Atlantic Regionals. And the NCAA competition will take place in 2 weeks. They'll be on the line. Ken Fournette's Tigers of Memphis as well. East Carolina, Kurt Kraft and Josie Weaver doing the coaching there. The Pirates were the 7th year ago. You see the men's race underway. Also on that starting line coming out of the start is Houston, the Cougars. Steve Magnus doing a tremendous job. All credit to Houston. They had a very difficult summer training, as you know, with the hurricanes and the horrendous flooding. The distance runners, read several blogs by how the athletes were able to train despite floods and helping their communities. Some of these athletes lost everything that they lived in their housing and things of that nature. So a tip of the hat to the Cougars of Houston. Dina Reese Bulls of USF, South Florida, out of Tampa. They were 9th year ago. And again, we welcome the Missouri Valley team from a year ago. They were runners-up, now members of the America, and that's the Shockers of Wichita State. Kirk Hunter doing a great job out there in Kansas with the Wichita State Shockers. Earlier this year, they were the winners of the Missouri Stampede. Now, you see the start. They'll actually take off and move, make that long left-hand turn. And you see they're running on the side of a hill. That hill is actually called, if you will, Parachute Hill. If you ever get a chance to go to Philadelphia, flat, no, it is not. It is a very hilly city, a beautiful place in the country to visit, and you'll have a great time. Now, in the headband, right there you see one of our favorites, a sub-4-minute miler. In fact, that's Brian Barraza. Barraza has had a storied career not only in the American Athletic Conference but the University of Houston. He's been our national national cross-country athlete of the week earlier in this season, winning the Texas A&M Invitational for the 3rd time in his career. He's been also the American Athletic Conference runner of the year. So Barraza, you'll see him in the headband of Houston. Lead vehicle taking a little bit of bumps, some trail vehicles as well. And now they come down a hill, they go up Parachute Hill, and on the other side they actually call it Suicide Hill, aptly named. Now for Temple, you see there right in the lead. Now first in that Notre Dame Invitational, that's Christian Jensen of Temple, the Owl, and he is in your lead group. Of course, you see the entire student body, so it's tough to say who is your leader as well. Just past 800 meters of the half mile, the course in around a lot of the athletic fields you see here at the Belmont Plateau Park. We're going to focus on the camera for you here. Very difficult. Try that sometime. Yeah, hang out the back of a car and take cell phone video. Please don't do that. So, men's race just underway in that first 1,000 meters. Looping around. The course does loop around. It has 2 essential loops. One after the start heads out rather hilly and comes back, and the other one loops back around the start. The men run 8,000 meters, roughly 5 miles, in most collegiate conferences. This happens to be the Super Conference weekend. Several of the conferences at the Division I level ran yesterday throughout the country. And then most of your Division I conferences will compete as they are today. You see a little bit of traffic check there with the Temple teammates Steinsberger and Jensen. And then there is one additional conference meet tomorrow, in fact, and that will round out then all of the Division I conferences. 2 weeks from now, the season will end for most of our NCAA Division I cross-country teams, in that they'll compete in the respective regionals, and that'll be on Friday, November 10th. So, Super Conference weekend, it's a great opportunity. Finish out the year, compete for conference pride. It's the one thing you've got in common with every athlete in every sport at your university. And so, Super Conference weekend is kind of fun in cross-country. They do the same thing in indoor and outdoor track, and then you go to your national competition, first rounds in 2 weeks. You can see the awards platform and so forth. Now, there you are. You see Temple out well. They know the course. They've trained here before. And so you see that's number 70. We talked about Steinsberger, 64 as well. Here comes the rest of the pack through. This is one of those courses where you go out too hard early, you're going to pay. Some courses tend to roll out and kind of smooth. This one has a lot of turns, a lot of switchbacks, and of course a lot of sharp hills, and then it moves out in a lot of flat area like you see there adjacent to some parking area. You've got a gravel kind of pathway there, but again it's easy to get out and get yourself moved in. Now if you can break away on the other side of that coin, and you see here as they're working their way up the hill now that we talked to you about earlier, called the Parachute Hill, as they work up this hill, a runner can actually, if there's a sharp turn or something away, they can actually break away and run and hide. And so sometimes you'll see an individual get out ahead, and the rest of the field has no idea how far they are ahead. That's the nature of cross country. A beautiful venue. Ever get a chance to come to the Belmont Plateau and see? You see one of the coaches up there hiding, and you can get a very good indication from this picture of how hilly it is here at Belmont. So the men's race underway. We talked a little bit about the Temple athletes doing very well. In fact, Jensen was the winner at Notre Dame earlier, the Joe Piani Invitational. They run 2 races, a gold race and a blue race, and Jensen of Temple actually won the blue race, and so he has a lot of credentials this year. His teammate, Mark Steinsberger, and you saw Steinsberger, rather, number 70 there. He was in the top 10 a year ago in this meet when we ran in Cincinnati at the Voice of America Park. If you ever get a chance to go there, that's a neat cross-country course and a wonderful park, a lot of history. But he was also the individual winner earlier at the Ryder Invitational here in Philadelphia. He is our Athlete of the Week in the American. So 2 owls leading up through this area called Parachute Hill. I don't know if I'd want to parachute off of it, but then on the downhill stretch, they actually move over on the other side of this hill, and it's called Suicide Hill. And there's your indication. Yeah, you're going uphill here in the American. So trying to get the audio or the video feedback, and again, sometimes that's a little difficult when you get in and among trees, like you have here at the American Championships. So the defending champions in the team competition, we talked a lot about Steve Gully's Tulsa Golden Hurricane. They've actually been in the existence of our American Athletic Conference. They have won every team title in men's cross country, and so Coach Gilly has them ready to go. They did a great job earlier this year. Rolled out a few athletes in the Cowboy Preview. That was at Oklahoma State. That scored kind of in a double duel kind of fashion, where you have multiple teams and multiple dual meet scores. And if you're a coach kind of geek like we are, then you can kind of see that. Then they go to the Missouri Southern. They sent some athletes to the Missouri Southern Stampede. Then they rolled out really in earnest in the last 2 meets. One was the Cowboy Jamboree at Oklahoma State, where they were 5th in the top 5 teams in a very competitive meet. Tulsa ran very well. And then the University of Wisconsin hosts a meet, which is going to be the site actually of the NCAA championships a year from now, the Ed Nuttycombe Invitational, where they finished among you had over 50 of the best teams in the country, and they competed and finished in the top 30. So Tulsa, a team to watch. Tulane making a good resurgence. Moses Aloyloi, and you'll see then that individual in our graphic. That is the All-American from Tulane, Emmanuel Rodich. And Rodich there, the graphic you see there, is one of our favorites. So they lead the green wave of Tulane. That's a couple of the teams that are running real well. Coach Greg Roy's Uconn Huskies, amazingly good. Now, top of the hill, you get rewarded. You get a turn right, and then you just literally come back down the hill. Aptly named again, Suicide Hill coming down. You see Barraza of Houston there with the headband, has a huge ability to kick very well. He is back his final season, did some redshirting a year ago, and one of the premier talents in the American Athletic Conference. You see Rodich on your right there from Tulane, the All-American Green Wave. He was our champion outdoors in the steeplechase, where you run 3,000 meters, which is just under 2 miles, and you run over these sawhorses or little barriers. So that likens itself to cross country. The All-American there you see in Emmanuel Rodich, a tremendously talented individual out of Leesburg, Virginia. If you're we take a lot of pride here in the American in our academics rather, and Tulane's known for its School of Architecture, and he's made the honor roll in the American several times. Now, just past the 2-mile mark, going back up some hills. So there's the 2-mile mark, and you see running just over a 5-minute mile pace in this race. The Belmont Plateau Park, the only plateau is where the ball fields are, where they play softball, baseball, and things of that nature. But a beautiful facility. You get a chance to come to Philly, buy yourself an extra hour of time, and come out and check this place out. Kind of neat. And if you like to exercise, you got your challenging day. So you see some of the spectators, coaches, and fans kind of cheering the athletes along as they pass by. That's the middle part of the pack. And there's our leaders, Barraza, UC, with the headband on for the University of Houston, and the senior All-American ran a 3:58 mile earlier this year, becoming one of less than 500 people ever in American history to break 4 minutes for the mile. And Barraza now with the lead, running right there with Temple's Mark Steinsberger. And you see Rodich, Moses, Oloiloi, and the rest of the field. You look and you see the blue of Tulsa, Ben Preisner, Adam Rodriguez. They have 1, 2, 3. You can see about 7 of the 2 Tulsa runners right there in the lead group indeed. So, lead pack kind of setting itself up. Uconn Huskies represented very well. Mike O'Donnell, Mike McGonigal. Uconn, actually, Coach Roy had Eric Vander Els. Now, he was our runner-up in the outdoor 1,500 meters. I've talked about good milers with Barraza. Here's a young new one. He's our United States Junior National Champion at 1,500 meters. Eric Vander Els having just a great rollout season last year for the Uconn Huskies. The sophomore is back. So, you've got McGonigal, O'Donnell, and Vander Els representing Uconn, and they are up there. Now, East Carolina had an individual, and I don't know if you saw him tucked in there or not, but that's Bakri Abushak. Now, Abushak was the winner earlier this season of the East Carolina Pirates Invitational. That was a site 2 years ago of our cross-country championships. They have a nice invitational earlier in the season. And the footnote there is he ran 24 minutes flat. Now, that's extremely fast. That's 4:48 mile pace on grass. And so he has credentials, and deservedly so. There he is in that lead pack as well. So Barraza, easy to spot with the headband. You see then for Temple, you've got Steinsberger, Christian Jensen as well running. You see the 2 Temple Owls right there. You see Barraza making the turn. You see Rodich from Tulane University. Had the pleasure of announcing his race. He actually won the pre-nationals at the University of Louisville. We were there at Sawyer Park just 3 weeks ago at the NCAA pre-nationals, and he ran very well, winning his race. They divide the student athletes in that race at the pre-nationals, since it's such a huge field, into 2 races, and he won his division. So you see him, the All-American, tucked in there. Now, Tulsa, they have a whole stable of athletes. Coach Gilly has done such a tremendous job over his tenure at Tulsa, doing his early journeyman work at Baylor University, and a great way to get honed and develop the skills you need to be such a great coach. And Coach Gilly is that indeed. He has Ben Preisner. Preisner, he was the runner-up in this race a year ago. The Golden Hurricane ran 4th place in that very competitive Cowboy Jamboree. Now, we'll see if we can spot, we got a little breakaway going on, see if we can spot who this student athlete might be that's getting out ahead. I believe that's probably Bakri from East Carolina, if I am right, and spoke of him earlier. Now, in addition to Preisner from Tulsa, you've got Henry Pierce as well. Pierce, the academic All-American in cross-country a year ago. He was 3rd in our outdoor 10,000-meter championships we ran in Houston. Adam Rodriguez, the veteran Tulsa Golden Hurricane as well. He's up there in that lead pack. He was 5th in our championships a year ago. He was the runner-up in that 10,000. And once again, another academic All-American. Getting it done in Tulsa, not only on the roads, on the cross, and on the track, but also in the classroom. So we congratulate all these student athletes. They do a great job. We take great pride here in the American in our academic prowess and success. And we have a lot of that not only with the men, but wait till you see what we roll out with the women in their success as well. Some of the athletes coming by there you see in your monitor. Saw Andrew Ncaa from East Carolina. Now the pack just kind of swells back in together. I'm pretty certain that is Bakri Abushak of East Carolina. Roughly 2/3 of the way into our race now. Just past 3 miles. You see Rodich over on the right. Very efficient running style. We've seen a lot of him over the course of indoor and outdoor track here in the American. Emmanuel Rodich, along with Brian Barraza. Barraza, the All-American from El Paso, Texas, has had a great career. Last year at the NCAA Indoor Championships, he ran the 3,000 meters where he earned his All-American status by placing 7th. He was in Louisville running the pre-nats. Now, he was actually in a different race. There were two races, as I said, at the pre-nationals. And Barraza was 10th in his race, finishing right behind some very talented BYU Cougars. And so Barraza trying to make a statement, chasing All-American honors that will be awarded November 18th. So hoping to do well here in the conference meet. And then 2 weeks later in his particular NCAA regional. I'll explain to you later during our broadcast here of how the NCAA championships work. So you've got Barraza, one of the favorites, Emmanuel Rodich, one of the favorites. You've got the hometown runners then in Steinsberger and Jensen, and then also in that league group you got a whole lot of Golden Hurricane athletes from Tulsa, as well as East Carolina's Bakri Abashuk. So we'll wait till we get the feed. There it is again live. Now we're in the 4th mile, just beginning, just about 3¼ miles. There are the two favorites, Rodich and Barraza. And then you see the Golden Hurricane starting to step up, the beautiful blue with the gold, Tulsa on their singlets and the black racing shorts. Then Tulsa making their move. No team has won the American team title other than the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. And so here they come. Great picture. Good job in our feed. I'm going to try to identify the Cincinnati runner. I believe that is Dan Hubin, who's had a great career for the Bearcats of Cincinnati. He, I believe, is in the lead or in that league group as well. But you see that picture there, kind of narrow, great running surface. So again, if you get a chance to come to Philly, so many cool places to do your working out and running. It has a great running history in the city of Philadelphia. A lot of people like to go downtown, run along the Schuylkill River, and go to the art museum and do the old Rocky run up the stairs. I have to confess I've done that myself. But tucked in and around, you've got this park, which is the Belmont Plateau Park. You've got just so many places that in and around the city of Philly. They've got a section of running trails that connect a lot of the communities, a lot of the suburbs, and so on. So that's your plug for the Chamber of Commerce of Philadelphia. Whoops, got a little bit of traffic control, some spectators trying to get in, and that's just the hazards of being a distance runners, and those guys are well aware of never underestimate. You know, you hope there's safety, but thank goodness something disastrous was avoided right there. So the athletes, being athletes, moved around and got safely through there. You have got Barraza there in the red of the Houston Cougars.
Camera 3 here. So this
and
is the last
then you've got Emmanuel Rodich of Tulane, and they are side by side, and you see them tucked right there with them. East Carolina's Bakri Abashuk, and that's your top 3, and then you've got about 4 Golden Hurricanes. So my individual winner probably going to be one of those top 3, and then the team title looks really in command, in control by Tulsa. Tulsa with 4 there in the top 8, and I see their 5th runner back just about 10th place. So Golden Hurricane running well. Yes, they are going uphill, folks. You can see the heads coming down, the arms drive, leading with the knee, turning left, and goes up even a sharper hill. Again, that's up that parachute hill second time, and they'll into the trails, and you see now you can get back on that picture as well. It just never stops. Your quadriceps now, you're in your large muscle groups. You've been 20 minutes into racing. They're burning. You're in oxygen debt. Your body can't carry that much oxygen to run you through. You see 4 miles, 20 minutes, 23 seconds, and that's full 5 pace. Turn to the left, and then go up some more. And so through this area, you can see Barraza, so light, a toe runner, very efficient. Rodich right there, Bakri, a couple Golden Hurricane, moving on.
So this is my widest shot on 3 for the
Uconn Husky there, I believe that's Vander Els. I'll have to get a verification of the number later on as they come by. Then the fixed camera that we have here up at the top of the hill, able to broadcast. So they're in their last mile. They'll come and make these trails up in the hilltops there, and then go down Suicide Hill, if you will, back down in the flat area where the ball fields are, loop around and make those last turns into the finish. Barraza and Rodich. Now, Rodich is more of a distance type runner. Barraza more of the miler mold, but don't undersell Emmanuel Rodich. You know, he was fourth in the outdoor 1,500 meters, won the steeple. He's an All-American 4 times in his Green Wave career at Tulane. And Brian Barraza, of course, a sub 4-minute miler. And so these two guys lining up themselves, getting ready for the sprint in that will take place here in just about 2 or 3 minutes. Rodich trying to get away now from Barraza, knowing quite well his teammate, a huge respect these two guys have for each other, and trying to get away. Now, Rodich ran very well, wanted to make a statement to the other fields. He thought, you know, in that pre-nationals 2 weeks ago, I watched his interview and had a chance to listen to him, where he said that, you know, I wanted to be in the other race, but that's just the way the races were seated at the pre-nats 2 weeks ago, because he wanted to go against Barraza and the BYU athletes and some of the All-Americans are there. You had Soifer from Virginia Tech, the All-American, he and Neil Gorley, his teammate. And Rodich wanted to be in that race, but that's just how the races were divided with the meet administrators, and sometimes in the world of sports that happens. So he now trying to break away from Brian Barraza. Barraza of Houston second, and he's chasing then Emmanuel Rodich. You saw the move, dropping the hammer. Rodich now with the big lead, coming back down from Suicide Hill, made game of that downhill. You can see Magnus cheering on then Barraza, but Emmanuel Rodich moving out ahead now. He's got himself about a 25-meter gap in front of Brian Barraza of Houston. Rodich, Tulane, Barraza, Houston, and here come the Golden Hurricane. I believe that's Preisner, and then you've got Abishak, the first-year runner there from East Carolina. Another Golden Hurricane, I think that's Rodriguez. Uconn Cincinnati runners there. Coach Roy is doing a great job. Temple now, that's their second runner as indeed. Tulsa having a little bit of difficulty with the hill now. Things have changed. That's the third Temple runner. Rodich now almost catching our lead cart. Lead vehicle now moving ahead. Rodich really strong here at the end. Emmanuel Rodich, I can safely say now, barring something that might be unexpected, looks like he is on his way to another American Athletic Conference team title, or individual title rather. A storied career for the Green Wave, arguably one of the greatest runners in Tulane history. And there it is at C. He is clear and way ahead. Now checking traffic a little bit. Emmanuel Rodich will come into the finish, and it looks like he will be our winner here in the American Athletic Conference. One final left-hand turn for the run-in, and Rodich now entering the chute area. Here he comes. Emmanuel Rodich going to be just now remember, they were 20 minutes and 23 seconds at 4 miles. And so here, that last mile, Rodich across the line, 24:58 roughly. So that's a 4:37. That's Barraza. He'll be second. And then now Tulsa's first scorer comes in there. That's Preisner, I told you. There's Avashuk coming in. Great picture there as Avashuk comes in. Another Golden Hurricane in there as well. So Tulsa with 2. That's Vander Els, I'm pretty certain. No, excuse me, Patrick Begley. Then there's Mike O'Donnell. O'Donnell then been around this conference, a conference placer. Now Temple starting to bring their runners in. You see now Tulsa with 3, Temple with 3. Team scoring very critical now. Your top 5 do your points. For those unfamiliar with our sport that are tuning in and watching, cross country and golf have 2 things in common, or one thing in common. well, two things. They're done on grass, and secondly, to score, the lower score wins. And so in golf, the less strokes you take, the better you do. And in cross country, the lower your numbers are on your finish. And so, perfect score, you take the 5 runners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you add that up, you got 15 points. So anytime you see a cross-country score in a big meet like our American Athletic Conference Championships, and your winning team gets under 50 points, they have done a good job. And you see that Tulsa and Temple, that's as a coach, you kind of watch and say, okay, there's 3 guys, there's 4 guys, and so forth. The rest of the finishers finishing up. That's McGonigal you just saw from Uconn. Here come some of the Shockers now getting their initiation into the American Athletic Conference. We welcome Wichita State. Great and glad to have you here. And going to be a long storied history. We're very proud of what we do in the American. We do a lot of things right. And Wichita State has done so in the Missouri Valley. So we welcome to have those Wichita State Shockers. We know that, Coach Hunter, you're going to do a great job. So you see the rest of the runners coming in. Most of the field. Now, your average guy, there you say, oh, that guy's way behind. They're running 5 minute 30 miles. That's Ncaa there of East Carolina crossing the line. And you're running 5:30 up and down. Now, just go on your treadmill and try to dial that to about 5.5 minutes for a mile. See how well you do. Oh, dear. Now you don't get the treadmill. You got to run on grass. And you saw some of the gravel. You saw the lead runners having to dodge cars. And then they got to go up this hill, this fun little hill 3 times called Parachute Hill, and then down Suicide Hill, make a right-hand turn. Left-hand turn here and there around the ball field. Try to run that sub 5 minute mile pace that you saw our winner Rodich run. And then these guys still running 5:40. There he is, the All-American 4 times for Tulane, Emmanuel Rodich. We're going to get some interviews and so on with him later on. We hope you like that, talking about the course. Very articulate young man. Very interviews very well. I saw that interview with him earlier. Again, last week when he did an interview with FlowTrack, does a good job. So very proud that he represents our conference quite well. The men then finishing up their race, women on tap. They're in their warm-up phases, and that women's race scheduled to go off in about 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll get that for you too. The women now. Tulsa, we talked about with the men. Tulsa and Temple, the 2 favorite men's teams here. You've got Tulsa with the women and SMU, Coach Casey's team. As we make the transition from the men, you see finishing up, rehydrating with the water. They'll get a little oxygen back in those large muscle groups. Ironically, just like you do with thoroughbred horses, you do the same thing with distance runners to reoxygenate the large muscle groups. The best way to do that is a nice soft jog down and a little bit of stretching to bring in. You just don't want to run a hard race and just go get in the car and go home. You'll have a lot of aches and pains and muscles that are going to scream for a little bit of relief. A little lactic acid builds up in the system. The best way to get that out of there is oxygen, not only in the first hour after you race, but also in the first 24 hours. So you can't race a guy every day. You see the collegians running 5 miles, 8,000 meters. They'll run 10,000 meters in their championship phase. That's in 2 weeks. So you don't want to race a guy 5 miles today on a hilly cross-country meet and then expect him to come back 2 or 3 days later or a week later and run another race. You do that, and it's kind of we learned a little bit from thoroughbred horse racing that you can't race a horse that many times and expect a performance to be what you would want it to be. So athletes will go in a recovery phase for a couple days, come back into a training cycle for a couple weeks, and then set up then for the November 10th regionals. Now, as the men walk off and you see them there rehydrating, getting ready to rejoin their teammates and tell some great stories about the race during their jog down, the women are over in the starting area, and that's just nearby beyond that the red tents there to the right, and they're reporting in, checking in. Athletes have to check into a clerk's tent. You could bring so many athletes on your roster, but they actually everything's recorded. You saw those little blue carpets. Those are actually electronic timing mats that you see. You'll see it in road racing. You see it in cross-country used. Most of the cross-country venues have that. There are some that actually have fiber optic cables that are buried underneath the ground that can sense you almost like you would a toll booth or a toll gate when you go on a toll road or a toll bridge. Oftentimes no more toll booths. They just have the electronic sensors that sees your car. So if you use Easy Pass, they actually have microchips that they lace onto their shoes, and those chips then have all the data of the runners, and that records them. So there's a recap of that start of that men's race. You see then a little bit of highlight. There the Temple Owls out well, Uconn Huskies running, and a little bit of review. Now, while that's being shown, some of the women's teams that are warming up now and doing their final stride outs, we'll talk about those. Now, your defending champions in this race, the SMU Mustangs, Kathy Casey. She's got her women's team now in their final phases of warm-up. Casey, storied career for the Mustangs of SMU there in Dallas, Texas. She's in her 16th year, and they've done a great job. They were the champions a year ago. They were the champions in 2013. You can see the panoramic view there. Downtown Philly looking good on a sunny autumn day. Nothing prettier than that. But Kathy Casey's got the Mustangs running very well. Now they'll compete in the NCAA competition in a couple weeks. They are in the South Central Regional, and that includes teams like Arkansas and things of that nature. So what we're going to do now, I talked a little bit about the SMU Mustangs and Coach Casey's team and that South Central Regional, the defending champions. We're going to take a little break, and we'll come back to you and talk more about some of the other women's teams coming up here in the American Athletic Conference Cross Country Championship at the Belmont Plateau Park in Philadelphia.
We are American. The conference of opportunity. The opportunity to chase dreams. The opportunity to make your mark and change the game. Because that's power. We are power.
Thanks for tuning in to our Olympic sports edition of The Rise. Hope you're having a great week. Championship season is officially here as cross country gets things going on Saturday. The 2017 American Men's and Women's Cross Country Championships, hosted by Temple, will take place at the Belmont Plateau in Philadelphia. The championship starts with the men's 8K race at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by the women's 6K race. Both events will be streamed live and for free on the American Digital Network. The men's championship meet will feature 7 teams ranked in the U.S. Track and Field Cross Country Coaches Association regional rankings. 5 teams, Uconn, SMU, Temple, Tulane, and Tulsa, are regionally ranked on the women's side. The Mustangs won last year's women's cross country championship, while the Tulsa men are 3-time defending champions. Good luck to all 12 American teams on the course this weekend. We are in the final week of regular season action over in women's soccer, and 5 teams have clinched a spot in the conference's 6-team championship. Houston and SMU will battle it out for the 6th and final spot Thursday night in Dallas, while UCF and USF will face off Saturday for the top seed and the American regular season championship. The Women's Soccer Championship begins a week from today, next Wednesday, November 1st, with 2 first-round games. The Knights held steady at number 7 in this week's United Soccer Coaches rankings, while the Bulls are receiving votes in the same poll. UCF also took home 2 honors this week in the penultimate American Weekly Awards, as Bridget Callahan took home the offensive accolades and Carrie Lawrence the defensive honors. Lawrence had an impressive week on both sides of the ball after leading the Knights back line to a shutout win over Uconn and scoring 4 points over 2 games against the Huskies and the Temple Owls. In men's soccer, 2 teams, Uconn and SMU, have clinched a spot in the conference's 4-team championship. The Mustangs continue to climb the national rankings and are number 10 in the top drawer soccer poll. They have not lost a match since last month's overtime loss at Tulsa and have posted 4 consecutive shutouts. Garrett McLaughlin, who scored 8 points over 2 games last week, and teammate Mauro Cicero are 9th and 16th in the NCAA respectively in points per game. SMU can clinch a share of the American regular season title this Saturday when they face USF on the road in Tampa. UCF, meanwhile, has earned back-to-back American Offensive Player of the Week honors and looks to solidify their championship seeding this Saturday versus Temple. Cal Jennings had 5 points and a hand in each goal in the Knights' 3-2 win over first-place Uconn last Saturday. The conference's leading scorer in league play, midfielder Matias Paisalo, is 5th in the nation in points per game. The Owls are led offensively by freshman Alan Camacho Soto, who has averaged about 1.5 points per game in league play, the 3rd highest total in the American. This match will air live on the American Digital Network at 2 p.m. Eastern. In volleyball, Temple had a big week and moved into a tie for 2nd place in the American after defeating Tulsa and SMU, the defending American champion, a week ago. Defensive Player of the Week, Mia Harakuji, averaged 6 digs per set in the 2 wins without committing a single reception error, while teammates Kyra Kondoritis and Izzy Raposh grabbed a spot on the honor roll. Offensive Player of the Week honors went to Wichita State senior Abby Lehman. Lehman and the Shockers swept Cincinnati and ECU last week and remain at number 21 in this week's AVCA poll at an unblemished 10-0 in conference play. Congratulations are also in order for Shockers coach Chris Lamb, who won his 400th career game recently. Lamb was honored last Friday before the match versus Cincinnati. In swimming and diving, ECU's Vandala Norman and Alicia Rouchet took home the league's weekly honors. Uconn teammates Will Kiersey and Dan Kinney earned the accolades on the men's side. Both Rouchet and Kinney swept their diving events in dual meet action this past weekend. And here's a look at all of the action you can catch this week on the ADN. October 26th, Cincinnati will take on SMU in women's volleyball. Friday, Memphis will face off against Tulsa in women's soccer. Then Saturday, it's Temple and UCF, along with the cross-country championship races on the digital network. You can catch all of these events live and for free on YouTube. Be sure to check back all weekend long for updates on upcoming championships, as well as the results from cross-country. Have a great day.
Thank you.
We don't need it. There's
Thank you. I'll just take one. Okay. Thank you very much.
First ball. All competitors in the women. 6-10. First ball. All competitors in the women. 6-10 to the starting line. Coaches, the 15-minute protest window is now open. All coaches, the 15-minute protest window is now open.
You have a son or daughter of Penn State?
yes, actually our son is the athletic trainer for ECU, graduating from Penn State.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my 2 younger brothers, one just graduated, one is currently at Penn State.
So my other one's still, he's a senior at Penn State.
Okay,
He's
cool.
in the IST, he's on computers, and physical is all.
Oh, cool.
So he was with the football team last year.
That's Sorry, no.
Yeah, so we got to go to all the games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Will be competing again this year. Last year's defending champion, SMU ended Saturday with the highest regional ranking across the league at number 4 in the South Central region. Hannah Miller and Charlotte Tara Murphy each finished in the top 10 in last year's championship to earn all conference honors. Murphy has been the Mustangs' top finisher for 4 races this year, while Miller led the pack against the nation's best at the pre-national invitational. 2 all-conference runners returned to Tulsa's roster, as the Golden Hurricanes are number 6 in the Midwest region. Nicole Lee finished 9th in last year's championship with a time of 21:09, while Adriana Mazzi took 12th with a time of 21:19. Lee and the Yazoo each led the team in its last 1 race this year, while sophomore Ashley Warren has been Tulsa's top finisher in 2 weeks. Tulsa placed second overall in the championship last year, just 2 points behind the Mustangs. Temple started off this season with back-to-back first-place finishes and followed up with a second-place finish at the Notre Dame Invitational. The Owls are currently ranked number 12 in the Mid-Atlantic region and returned Kate Fletcher, who currently a 14th-place finish last year with a time of 21:23. Fletcher, along with Grace Ford, have been the top 2 runners for the Owls this season. Uconn has a
Paul, you're looking for that same left and right head-to-toe pan that I did the first time? This one?
including the Midnight Invitational, the UC Stampede Invitational, and the Luxembourg Run. The Huskies have made several strong field this season, with the first round of Paul Stewart Run and the New England Championship. Tulane joins SMU in rankings in the South Central region, listed at number 10 in the latest poll. The Greenways earned 2 first-place finishes this season.
And welcome back. You see the skyline there in Philadelphia. The women now going through their warm-up phases. The American Athletic Conference, there's the result of the men's race just finished. Remember, I talked about that 50-point, kind of a magic number. Tulsa, 53 points. No team other than Tulsa has won the conference cross-country title. This is, if I'm not mistaken, 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17. 4 in a row. Just narrowly edging out Uconn, 63 points. 10 points in cross, that's not much. Uconn did a great job of pack running. You saw them 3rd place. So the men's team scores there. There's your individuals. Great. 4:35 last mile. Emmanuel Rodich coming down Suicide Hill. He is the individual winner. Barraza, the All-American, in 2nd. Preisner of Tulsa, Avashuk, East Carolina. Then here come the Uconn Huskies. Scott Beatty and Patrick Bailey, Mike O'Connell. They did a great job for Coach Roy. And Uconn, then O'Donnell as well. Then you got Andrew Harson, Henry Pierce. That's your top 9. Then 9 of your all-conference runners, and we'll have a couple more being cited later on. We'll do some interviews. The men's individual results running quite well. So the men's race completed. The women now going through their warm-ups. Now, before we took a break, I talked a lot about some of the women's teams, especially SMU and Coach Casey's Mustangs. Let's talk about some of the other teams that you're going to go off that line in just about 4.5 minutes. Tulsa, they were runners-up a year ago. A great women's team race last year at the Voice of America Park in Cincinnati, and should be the same this year. Coach Gilly coaching the women Golden Hurricane there at Tulsa. They were the 2014 and 15 champions. Last year, the runners-up, hoping to contend back as well. You see the Uconn Huskies there. Coach J.J. Clark, they're ranked in one of the top 10 teams in the Northeast regional. They're in their 6th season, the Uconn Husky women. Now, you got USF, the Bulls there in South Florida. You saw a quick shot of the Wichita State. That's Cincinnati now doing their final cheer there. And Coach Reef's Bulls, then they were 10th a year ago, trying to move up in the conference rankings. That's the Mustangs of SMU. We told you all about them. Kirk Kraft's got the East Carolina Pirates. They'll be on that starting line. Memphis, they were 3rd a year ago. Coach Fournette doing a great job. Memphis got a couple of individuals who will watch. We'll talk about them after the start of the race. Uconn Huskies. Coach Johnny Gray, like that name? He's an Olympian. Doing the distance running coaching for the Knights of UCF. And they do a difficult time. It's kind of tough to train in Orlando in September, August, and those hot months of the year. But they get it done. UCF. You've got Cincinnati, Laura Crawford, her 2nd year coaching the Bearcats. They are on the line. You saw their team doing their chant earlier. The Green Wave, Coach Peterson doing a great job. They are really having a little resurgence of distance running in Tulane. That's neat to see. They're ranked in the top 10 in that South Central Regional. The Owls really making hopes to make a statement here to move up in the conference rankings. Yeah, they know about SMU. They know about Tulsa. Temple wanted to put its emphasis there. They're ranked number 4 in the Mid-Atlantic. They got an outside chance of making for Coach Snyder. You just got a glimpse there of Houston, Coach Magnus's Cougars. Tough time training this summer. That's the Shockers of Wichita State. Coach Hunter doing a good job. There are your Huskies, J.J. Clark, Uconn Huskies. You got the Green Wave there of Tulane. Memphis's team, East Carolina, Kirk Kraft's Pirates there doing a good job. There's Coach Casey's Mustangs. UCF, we talked about the Knights of Central Florida there. Beautiful campus. There's the Golden Hurricane. The Owls, again, making some moves. So, going to be kind of fun. Yeah, we know Tulsa. Yeah, we know SMU are our favorite teams, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch Tulane and Temple make the field or make a statement there. And that far team on the right, the USF Bulls, they train out of Tampa, University of South Florida. USF, Coach Reef's team ready to go. So the gun's just about ready to go. Again, like we did with the men, instructions from the starters crew. You see the awards platform right there to the outside of the ball field, the team tents and warm-up area that they have, the American Athletic Conference. It's really neat to see the start of a cross-country race. If you don't get a chance to see one in your area, I encourage you to do that. Nothing better in the fall to see than the lineup of the runners there. We've got some 100 runners there towing the line, ready to go. Last minute instructions. They'll see the drop of the flag, the firing of the gun, and off they'll go. Now, oftentimes you'll see in a cross-country race, and I learned this a long time ago in the 60s when I first took up cross-country. Don't go out too fast. They call those rabbits. And so we hope we don't have a rabbit that goes out too fast. I promise you, when you make that turn and you go up the hills, you'll pay. So you'll see that oftentimes with beginning runners, but these are experienced collegians, and hopefully we don't see that as well. But nothing more beautiful than a sunny day in Philadelphia. I hope you're having a great weekend here at the American Athletic Conference Women's Cross Country Championships. No, that's not a rabbit. That's one of the favored runners with the women from SMU. And she's out there earlier. I believe that's Hannah Miller. I'll verify that in a second. She's bringing along the student body right behind her. Now the women, they run 3 3/4 mile. Kind of an odd distance. You know, 5K is the standard high school distance throughout the country. 6,000 meters, that's 3 3/4 miles, is what the collegiate women run, and they run that virtually all season. Maybe in the very early part of September they'll run a couple shorter races. Now, that gives you an idea of the topography. If you're good at looking at that picture, you'll see they're going uphill, and that's a steep incline. If you run up a hill much more than about 5% grade, yeah, you're running up pretty steep. So, off from the start, up a hill, a sharp turn left, some 500 meters into the race, and then they run on the side of the hill, and then they'll literally turn again and go up the hill. So SMU out strong, the Mustangs on the charge. They've got the leader out, just gapped out, and then a teammate as well. Mustangs in running very well. I believe then for SMU, that's Hannah Miller. I'll get her bib number and verify that. You see the background of Philadelphia going up what's called Parachute Hill, a neat area the Belmont Plateau Park, just on the outskirts of downtown Philly. If we get a chance again, as I said earlier, come on out here to this park. They have some great venues in and around our great city. So there we go now, moving into that trail. A little bit of paved surfaces, a little bit of grass, a little bit of trail. You get a little bit of everything here at the Belmont Plateau Park. You see the Mustangs now out with the top 3 runners. And out in front, indeed, that is Hannah Miller. Now, she's an academic All-American for the SMU Mustangs, for Coach Casey. Great credentials here in the American. She was our runner-up, the indoor 5,000 meters that held at the Crossplex in Birmingham, Alabama. That was a great race. She was 3rd in the outdoor championships, not only at 10,000 meters, but 5,000 meters. And that was done in the heat of Houston last May on Mother's Day weekend, graduation weekend there at the campus of the University of Houston. So Hannah Miller out early. Now, a year ago, she was the runner-up, so she's very familiar with being in that lead position in the lead group. She then has herself clear now of the field, and she'll take the race out. So they go out there and they stay, they're not a rabbit. They go out there and they stay, they're a pretty doggone good runner. And you have that then with the academic All-American from Southern Methodist, from SMU, that's Hannah Miller. Miller in the lead, and then you see a couple of her teammates back there in that pack. Gives you an idea of the gap there as they loop around the flatter parts of the Belmont Plateau where the ball fields are. So SMU, they are occupying the top 3 places. Now, along with Hannah Miller, you've got Charlotte Tara Murphy back there. She was 5th a year ago, the Athlete of the Week here in the American earlier in the season. Coach Casey's team did a great job in Charlottesville, Virginia. They were 3rd in the Panorama Farms Invitational. You ever get a chance to go to Charlottesville and go out and check that cross-country course out? One of the more hilly cross-country courses in the United States. They really have a nice, challenging course, beautiful venue, and aptly named the Panorama Farms Invitational. So the Mustangs then went ahead head-to-head with teams like Virginia Tech in that meet and ran very well. And Charlotte Tara Murphy was 3rd individually in that. And she's bringing the student body along right behind her teammates. So SMU out strong early here in the women's 6,000 meter race. Now they're coming up on the mile. That'll be in about 30 seconds. There's a great shot. You see Miller. Now, in that other chase pack, you saw then some runners from some other teams there. 225. That's Ashley Barnes of Tulsa. She was 7th in her steeplechase championships, and she is pulling the Golden Hurricane along. So SMU out early in the early team lead. The rest of the field now, that's just, they looped literally back behind the starting line, behind the awards dais you see there, and then they'll go back out on the loop again. A great camera shot there. That's not far from the finishing straightaway as well. And now they're going, again, heading to the other area of the park, back up where that parachute hill is, and they can come down Suicide Hill. You saw how the men negotiated that. The women will do the same. Their course is a little bit different. There's Coach Casey there talking to some of her teammates there in the red jacket from SMU. Collegiate distance running very difficult. Most of these guys, these ladies, student athletes, have to combine time with not only their training, their academic course load, diet, hydration, all those things that go into. So the luxuries of being a typical campus co-ed not always presented to these athletes, as they have to sacrifice a lot of time. There's the hill we talked about as they go up. Neat little narrow pathway. Paved very well. They're just past now the lead runners, Hannah Miller and her SMU teammates and such. They already passed the mile now and just in that 2,000-meter area. So they're out about a third of the way through, going up the hill there in the women's race. They'll make those turns. You saw with the men, same loop with the women as they'll cut and head down Suicide Hill. There's Miller now out ahead, and the rest of the pack there, some 20 runners in that next group kind of following there, all in the gap of about 2 seconds. Follow-up vehicle there. You can see the idea of the topography as they go up the hill. Good running surface for foot plant and things like that. Of course, very well groomed insofar as that. Oftentimes you'll get into some courses where, you're running on the hill and dale, so to speak, and it's not just the best foot plant. I've always said to people when they talk about running cross country versus running track, and the average guy, and I know a lot of my friends, they're afraid to even go outside and run. They say, well, I'll just run on the treadmill in the gym. Yeah, well, this ain't no treadmill, buddy. You're out on a real cross-country course running just as we first began becoming a good runner. But you'll get that person that runs on the treadmill, that runs maybe on the local roads where you got a nice smooth surface, or the local track, and then they'll go on a cross-country course. They'll get on trails. They'll get on like what you saw there, or the grass loops around the ball fields, and they'll say, well, this is terrible. My time is awful. Somebody didn't measure this right. Well, no. It's just a little tougher to run on grass and softer surfaces than what it is to have that nice even foot plant of a treadmill or the local track you have it at your gym. So cross-country running, if you haven't done that, and I've done this all my life, I'd encourage you to do that. And there they go up the trails. It's a neat loop. That's Miller out ahead, and last year's runner-up making a statement, the academic All-American from SMU. That's number 199, Hannah Miller. She's leading. You see now they go up to the peak. They're going to turn right. There she comes into view. Very strong, good track credentials, good cross-country credentials. She's running the NCAA championships for SMU, and so she has good familiarity to what it's like to be out there. So Miller coming up in the 3,000 meter section, just coming up on halfway of the race, has a huge lead, and we'll get, if we can, the cameras, and doing camera shots from these remote areas is very difficult to do, but we'll get a camera shot of that following pack and try to identify some of those runners for you here in the American Athletic Conference. TheAmerican.org, a great website. I encourage you to go there. You see hashtag TheAmericanXC on our monitor for you. But TheAmerican.org, you can link to Championship Central. You can find out about all of our championships we do in the American. We do a lot of sports and a lot of things, and almost everything we do is just right. So I'm very proud to have an association with this conference. They do a great job in presenting competition for all of our student athletes across and truly across most of the United States, from Kansas all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, the American Athletic Conference. Now, back to the race. There's Hannah Miller. Continues to lead, now starting to work her way down. And you can see now the turnover in the legs. You can tell you're going downhill. Downhill running is a lot of fun, but then in a lot of cases, you got to be very, very careful, because the body tends to overstride, and what happens is that forward foot, when it hits, literally becomes a brake. And so sometimes you can, a lot of coaches use the word, you can jack your legs running downhill. You get going, it's a little bit of technique. You got to kind of lower your center of gravity a little bit and let the hill take you down. And tougher on a taller runner like Hannah Miller. Now you see her teammate coming up and closing up a little bit on her, Charlotte Tara Murphy. The advantage goes to a smaller runner that has a shorter stride length on the downhill running, because their center of gravity happens to be a little bit lower. That's a little bit of biomechanic lesson. There's the 2-mile mark, 11 minutes, 30 seconds. So that's 5:45 mile. So put your treadmill at 5:45, try to run that pace, and then just for the heck of it, go up and down and make the surfaces terrible. And that's what you got Hannah Miller, our academic All-American, leading this women's race is doing. Now, our teammate running second there. So SMU running 1 and 2. And then you see the rest of the field not far back in this women's 6,000-meter race. Here at the American Athletic Conference, we're here at Belmont Plateau Park. Beautiful facility, a lot of fun here in Philly. Hope you're enjoying it. Just a gorgeous day. And it's like this every day in Philadelphia. So don't hesitate to visit the city of brotherly love. Good shot now. She'll come down out of this area. This is just about where we had the cars earlier. And again, we'll switch over to another camera shot for you in just a moment. Men's race completed earlier. Women's race underway. It's good they got the traffic pulled over. We had near disaster right at this point with the men. We'll ask those guys about that later on. But this is Hannah Miller now, working her way back toward the more open part of the park here.
Here they come.
But her lead now, very, and she's led this from the get-go. So Hannah Miller, the runner-up a year ago in our conference, great credentials, indoors 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, outdoors 5,000 meters all the way up to 10,000 meters, which is over 6 miles. So in command here at the American Athletic Conference Women's Championship race. 6,000 meters will be the distance, and she's coming up on the 4K, not far from that. She'll be there in the next 60 seconds or so. She's got her teammate right back there in second. Now the field's starting to spread out somewhat. Without radio confirmation, it's difficult for me just relying on monitors and things like that to tell you who. Now that's an uphill. You see Miller then, very powerful through there, makes the turn, doing a good job coming down. So Hannah Miller of SMU, huge lead now. You see there are some 4 runners bunched up as they made the turn behind her, and they are in arrears some almost 100 meters back. Miller on this downhill. This is where you saw Rodich in the men's race just break away from Brian Barraza. Now it is a sunny day in Philly, but you can see that a little bit of breeze, a little bit of wind, not severe or anything like that, but enough to kind of keep you comfortable and cool. We'll come back to the shot then for Miller. We're past 4,000 meters now, just 2K to go, 1.25 miles left. Remember, women run 6,000 meters. That's 3 3/4 miles. Men run at the conference level the 8,000 meters, which is roughly 5 miles. Now, when we go to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, which begins in 2 weeks on November 10th at the 9 regionals throughout the United States, the women stay 6,000 meters, but the men go 10. The NCAA National Championships 8 days later is another 10,000 meter race. Now, I mentioned 9 regionals. The nation geographically divides into 9 regionals. You hear about the 4 basketball regionals all the time in NCAA competition. In cross country, they do 9 regionals throughout the country, and the top 2 teams automatically qualify for the NCAA National Championships. And so that's 18 teams that come into the nationals. And then there is a cross-country committee, just like they have in all the other sports. And this committee invites at-large invitations to 13 additional teams. So 31 teams make it, 18 automatics, 13 at-large. The at-large invitations, well, it's obvious. It goes based upon, 1, how'd you do in your conference meet? So that makes this race that you see Hannah Miller leading very important. So one of the criterion to get one of those at-large bids is how did you do in your conference meet? Another criterion is how did you do competing against other teams that are already there. There's a beautiful shot from our still camera. Hannah Miller way out ahead, the academic All-American from SMU. So to get one of those at-large competitions, you must do very well in your respective conference. And doing well in that conference, the Uconn Huskies. There are 3 there. Could be the upset in the making. Uconn Huskies. Coach J.J. Clark, that's Haley Hasty. Now she was, if you will, 30th a year ago, and look at her there in the top 5. She leading the hopes of Uconn, SMU, Coach Casey's Mustangs, and Uconn, Coach Clark's Huskies in a battle for the team race. Don't count out Tulane or Tulsa as well, but Uconn running well. There's Coach Clark right there for Uconn, running back down the hill with Temple's coach then, Coach Snyder. And they know the course very well. Coach J.J. Clark, the All-American himself back in the day, doing a great job in Stores. Ever get a chance to visit that campus, make it on your list to do. It's a very beautiful, sprawling campus and rolling. Here's Hannah Miller now, clear in her last K. Lead vehicle there. Out ahead. We have our cameraman right there, and he's had a nice bumpy ride today. Doing a great job giving us some of those good shots. Miller in control, but what's coming behind her is going to determine the team championships here in the American, and that's going to be kind of fun. We talked a lot about SMU. We talked a lot about Tulsa. Didn't talk enough about Uconn, and they're getting the job done. So we'll see what happens here in this last 800 meters. Uconn Huskies making a move. We talked about Hasty, and right there with her, they're leading the charge then, is Uconn Husky teammate. I think that was Lauren Scahill. I'll have to verify and find out. But Coach Clark's team doing a job, taking a shot and seeing. So we'll see how the points work out. Maya Nahom, I believe, was that runner in second, and that's a really big surprise in for Uconn. Doing a great job. We'll see whether it's going to be Tulsa, whether it's going to be SMU, or whether it's going to be Uconn as runners now. Your leader, Hannah Miller of the SMU Mustangs, she is in her last 600 meters. I think she's clear unless she absolutely falls apart. And we're going to find out. The cameras will pan over on her as she makes her last few turns into that final straightaway. There she is. And I think she's safely in command. As we said before, this is Hannah Miller, the All-American from SMU, making that last circumnavigation, or if you will, the last loop around the athletic fields, the ball fields and such like that. And she'll make a couple more turns and into the finish chute area as she goes. And Miller in command to set herself up. Last year, the runner-up in the American. This will be her first American Athletic Conference individual championship for her. And she is in complete control, but there's a lot of team points coming up behind her. So Miller, a runaway winner, remember. First step off the starting line, she was in the lead. We talked about rabbits. She'll have none of that. Hannah Miller in control from the start, and she now, you see, heading down around that last athletic field. She'll come back around and make that left-hand turn into the chute area, and she is going to be your American Athletic Conference champion. That's for certain. She can literally walk in from here and still be your winner. So Miller making her final turns in control. Looks very strong. Good control up and down the hills a lot earlier in the race. You can see now up on the balls of the feet, knee lift, little thing called dorsiflexion with the toe. Your toe doesn't just hang down. Your toe kind of points up toward your knee. Every step that ensures that you've got good power in your swing through. A lot of biomechanics that take place, and we don't really think about it. A lot of it's natural. Miller making the turn now into the finish chute area. She is going to be crowned here later as your American Athletic Conference champion. She's been in control again from the get-go. You see the crowd cheering her on. Hannah Miller then, SMU. She takes it 21 minutes 18 unofficial for the SMU Academic All-American. She gets the team or the individual title. Now the team money, here it comes. Okay, that's number 141. Talked about her from Uconn. That's Bree O'Brien. She's got the 1-2 punch. The Uconn goes second and goes third. And that's O'Brien. And then Maya Nahom. And look at this. Right there, Uconn goes 2, 3, 4, if I'm not mistaken. Haley Hasty into the chute. So, my goodness. Fourth finisher for Uconn. I think the Huskies may have pulled off the team title. Uconn winning their first team title here in the American. Coach Clark's team came ready to run. We talked earlier about, they're ranked pretty well, making some noise in the Northeast region, where they have to compete against the likes of Providence, Syracuse, and teams there. But the Uconn Huskies, Coach J.J. Clark, 6 years in the making. I'm pretty certain, and again, I'll have to look at the official results, but if I had to pick a winning team, it looked like Uconn was the winners today. We'll find out here in just a short while. Great finish crew. You can see everybody's finished over the blue carpet they step, and they get recorded. They have the microchips that are laced into their shoes. Fourth a year ago, your team champions. You can see that's Hannah Miller now talking to her teammate, Charlotte Tara Murphy. Miller, your individual winner, complete domination for her. A little different race than what we had in the men, where we had, a 3 or 4 guy race, and then it were 2, and finally Rodich then separated himself. Hannah Miller led from the beginning. A little warmer than normal there. Tara Murphy having a little difficulty today, but I guarantee you she'll be back and ready for the regionals on November 10th. Miller then winning the race and helping teammates. A couple Temple Owls. You finished 3 3/4 miles of hard running up and down hills and grass and cross country. I guarantee you your legs are just shot for a while, and all you want to do is just kind of recover, walk around. Recovery happens a lot of different ways depending on the student athlete. So beautiful day here in Philly. We're going to have awards for you coming up, and interviews with some of the athletes. Great crew. The Temple administration and the Temple staff here have done just a fabulous job. They can certainly have medical at the finish, making sure that the trainers are there, assisting the runners. A lot of meet officials that do a good job. You got to have people tell you which way to turn up in those hills. Takes a lot of work setting up. You see all of the fencing, all the banners you see, all the timing pads, the timing crew. They've been out here as early as Wednesday, getting set up, paint crew coming out. So just putting on, you just don't show up for a cross-country meet and just, okay, fire the gun, let's go run. A lot of work and preparation go before these 20 or so minutes. That's Coach Casey there with Hannah Miller, congratulating her. Miller, the team leader for these Mustangs, tending to her teammates, making sure everybody's good and safe. I'm thinking the Uconn Huskies might be the team to celebrate later on. Coach Clark then got his Huskies down here from Stores, and they came in ready to go, stuck to their race plan, ran the course very smart, and just seemed to move up. Didn't see a lot of the Mustangs early in that first 2K. They were up there, but not, on the point. But they moved up over that last 3,000 meters, and if, the way I see it now, I think the Uconn Huskies are going to be our American Athletic Team champions here in the AAC.
Can you walk again?
One of the things you get in cross country, and you get this in a lot of sports, but more so I've observed it in cross, even more so than in track. There's just a huge bond. These athletes spend miles and miles training with each other. They spend a lot of time at the meal table studying, road trips, in the old team vehicles, stuff like that. And they literally become almost like sisters, and the same with the guys. They become brothers. I have teammates that I ran in cross country back when I was a collegiate athlete, and they're still some of my best friends in life. So the bond that takes place on these fields, I say the fields of friendly strife, between these student athletes, they last forever. They're not just teammates here for a year or two and then we diverge and go separate ways. They're really, it's kind of neat. I liken that maybe to some guys that maybe serve in the military together and become, brothers for life or sisters for life. So too, you see it with cross country, and that's a pretty good indication right there. Win or lose, the SMU Mustangs, Uconn Huskies, Golden Hurricane, the Bulls from South Florida, all very, very tight-knit groups. And you see that in cross country. I see that more so there than many of the other collegiate sports that present. So it's kind of a neat little nuance and aspect. I think the celebration is just about ready to begin for the Uconn Huskies. Taking pictures, they know it. I think their team score was something in the 30s. And so if you score in the 30s, and there they are, Coach Clark, he's a proud coach today. Uconn Huskies got a great job done, and especially over that last 3,000 meters.
Even if he stays down here, at least we know that's the last one.
Great picture there. Our camera crew. Yep, a lot of happy kids going to be going back to stores today, getting ready for that Northeast Regional, and a great way, great impetus to get you your momentum going the right direction. Super Conference weekend throughout the country of all of our Division I athletic conferences and our cross-country meets. And if you're first or second year conference, you're running well. That makes these workouts over these next 8 or 9 days real strong. Got a lot of confidence, and you got a lot of confidence, and put that in your mental psyche when you go to that starting line at the NCAA regionals. Then you're going to be ready to go, and coming off of a conference win or a conference great race, as opposed to a conference disappointment, kind of gets you ready to go. And so we'll be back with you later on with some interviews and awards.
He's going to get a position for post game.
We are American. The conference of opportunity. The opportunity to chase dreams. The opportunity to make your mark and change the game. Because that's power. We are power.
easiest sports shoot ever. 2 races that were less than a half hour each. Yeah, you don't have to be out all day. Yeah, the regular track meets, you got the pole vault, long jump. Oh yeah, but those things are those are hard to cover because all that stuff's going on simultaneously. Really, really tough. That stuff I've done. I've never done it cross country. Here, I was start line along here, and then whatever I figure I could get. Got a guy up on the hill. They got some guys on carts following. No movies or anything to keep it being too shaky. They need to upgrade. This is the first time. This is all being directed remotely from the house. Really cool. Through our iPhones, we're hearing the director directing our camera movement. It's so cool.
Coaches, the 15-minute protest window is now open. To all coaches, the 15-minute protest window is now open.
I do Spanish.
they are.
At Belmont Plateau in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Presenting today's awards are American Cross Country Committee members, Nicole Harvey, Committee Chair and Senior Associate Athletic Director from UCF, and Mary McElroy, Executive Senior Associate Athletic Director and Senior Women Administrator from Temple University. Also assisting the committee is Patrick Coburn, Senior Director of Sports Administration and Championship from the American Athletic Conference. The American Athletic Conference would like to thank Temple University for their attention and dedication to the successful staging of this championship. Additionally, the conference would like to thank Assistant Championship Director Mary McElroy and Championship Director Brian Colt, Assistant Athletic Director from Temple University. And all the volunteer staff and officials from their assistance in the production of this great championship. At this time, we would like to recognize the men's individual winners. As I call your name, would you please come forward to accept your award? In 15th place, with a time of 26:03, Kyle Breckerman from the Uconn Huskies.
good if I take a couple steps in?
In 14th place, with a time of 25:01, Nicholas Sharada from ECU Pirates. In 13th place, with a time of 25:58, Julian Sanchez Pinto from the Memphis Tigers. In 12th place, with a time of 25:48, Adam Roderick from the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. In 11th place, with a time of 25:46, Kevin Lebansky from the Temple Owls. In 10th place, with a time of 25:46, Mark Steinsberg from the Temple Owls. In 9th place, with a time of 25:43, Henry Pierce from the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. In 8th place, with a time of 25:39, Anton Harrison from the Temple Owls. In 7th place, with a time of 25:34, Mike O'Donnell from the Uconn Huskies. Placing 6th, with a time of 25:26, Patrick Beagley, the Uconn Huskies. In 5th place, with a time of 25:23, Scott Beatty from the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. In 4th place, with a time of 25:18, Bakari Abishak from the ECU Pirates. In 3rd place, with a time of 25:12, Benjamin Preisner, the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. The 2017 American Men's Individual Runner-Up. In 2nd place, with a time of 25:06, Brian Barraza from the Houston Cougars.
Hey guys, let's move in a little bit.
And the 2017 American Men's Cross Country Individual Champion with a time of 24:58 from the Tulane Green Wave, Junior Emmanuel Rotich. And now the men's team scoring. In 10th place, USF with 239 points. In 9th place, Cincinnati Bearcats, 218 points.
Can I have all you guys right here?
In 8th place, with 215 points, Memphis. In 7th place, with 174 points, Tulane. Placing 6th with 159 points, the Houston Cougars. In 5th place with 148 points, Wichita State. In 4th place with 145 points, ECU. And in third place, with 70 points, the Temple Owls.
I'm still live, I think.
Hey, Scott, when are you going to have this interview?
Now.
And now, for the men's team award, in second place, with a team score of 63 points, with the team captain from the Uconn Huskies. Please come forward to accept the 2017 American Men's Cross Country Team Runner-Up Trophy.
Superstar. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Okay, we're right here.
Shoulder to shoulder. There you go.
I'm here with Emmanuel Rodich, your 2017 American Athletic Conference Men's Cross Country Champion. Emmanuel, congratulations. You're a four-time All-American, so this didn't come as a big surprise, but that was a fast race. You ran a 4:34 that last mile. Talk about this course, and in particular those hills, the Parachute Hill and Suicide Hill, and how you leveraged that to accelerate on that last lap.
I think I got an advantage of coming. Like, we had a race like a month ago, and I think that was kind of a good for me for the training, and I think I was mentally prepared for this race. I've been training for a reason, and yeah, coming back after last year's disappointment that I was going to win the race, but I didn't, you know. I think it's all about time, so I think this was my time, and I'm glad I got this.
Well, again, it was a very fast race. You also had some obstacles out there. I saw at one point there was a couple of cars that almost hit you. Talk about that a minute. It didn't seem to shake you at all.
I think this kind of like, this is a mental thing, so psychologically I couldn't like think about the cars and stuff. I was just ready to run, you know, like my focus was just go right to the finish line, not think about like these other things that could make me slow down. I don't think they made me slow down. I was good, and I was good.
Talk a little bit about the upcoming NCAA meet. Talk about your chances and how you feel like you're prepared for the NCAA meets coming up.
I think this year is going to be exciting, and I'm ready for anything. I think the experience from the past, like last year, I had a good season, but then, you know, like I said, it's all about time. It wasn't my time, so this time I'm going to go there and place high, and I'm ready for the NCAs.
Well, again, congratulations, Emmanuel Rodich, your 2017 champion. Dennis, back to you.
Well, Rodich really put the hammer down, as you said, in that last mile. Incredible. And the traffic didn't seem to shake him. So, neat picture there at Tulsa. That is the only men's team champion that the American Athletic Conference has ever known. Coach Gillies' Golden Hurricane, once again, hoist up the team championship trophy here in the American. You see the guys there with their individual awards. They'll go back into a training cycle, and then they'll be in that Midwest regional, hopefully earning a spot in the NCAA championships on November 18th. Coach Gilly and Preisner is leader right there, third overall. Now, there's your standings. Rodich with that 4:34 last mile. Barraza runs 4:40. And he gets second. Remember, he's a sub-4-minute miler. Then you got Preisner, Abashuk. He and brother Dean Abashuk both finished in that top 20. Bakri in fourth. Those are newcomers in our conference. They're running for East Carolina. Scott Beatty, good rollout for the Golden Hurricane. Then you got the Uconn Huskies. If there's a program in the distance running part of our American Athletic Conference that's made a statement today, I'd say that statement came from Storrs, Connecticut, in the Uconn Husky. The men were runners-up, and the women were the American champions and American Athletic champions. And so you see Uconn overall team's title. If you do a combined program, they really did a great job. So the kids from Storrs came down ready to roll. Another good surprise and up-and-coming program is our whole school. The Owls of Temple, East Carolina, moving from 7th a year ago to 4th. That's pretty good. And it's good to see Wichita State, the Missouri Valley runners-up a year ago. Here they are 5th in the American. So the top 5 teams. And now back to you, Scott.
Here with Coach Goley of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, your 2017 team champions on the men's side. Coach, you guys are the only champions ever in cross country for the American. It's a legacy. Talk about today's results.
We were very fortunate. I think the conference got dramatically better. This was the hardest race we've had to run to win a conference championship. I think there's 2 or 3 teams that could have been there, and I feel fortunate because I don't know if we're really on yet. We've had some situations where we got to switch some guys in and out, but today I think I was very proud of them because they came together. So, you know, they think of nationals a lot, but conference means a lot to the university, and I think we had a good race. We had a good race.
Well, you sound like you're confident going into the NCAAs. Tell me about that a little bit. What are your thoughts and the prognosis for moving forward here?
We will have to run better than we ran today. Well, we ran good today, but we'll have to run better. It's a lot of luck and being there in 2 more weeks. So I think in the last 2 weeks we've made a big improvement. We got to make a bigger improvement in the next 2 weeks to be there for nationals.
Well, best of luck to you, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Back to you, Dennis.
Now you see the women's awards being presented, and they worked the top 2, or excuse me, the top 2 squads of 7, 14 in the American Athletic Conference, designated as all conference performers, and you see those awards being presented. With the women, 14th there was Danielle Jordan of Uconn, Lucy Jones Temple. She was 13th. Now Jordan, 14th, all conference. She's the number 5 runner for the Uconn Huskies. And so Uconn, as I said, J.J. Clark had the Huskies ready to roll. SMU always up for this conference, and so you see that as well as the Golden Hurricane. So 14th was Danielle Jordan, 13th Lucy Jones of Temple. The Owls really running well. Arnika Ziding of Memphis, she was their number 1 runner for the Tigers. She having a good season this year in all conference and cross. And Courtney Ackerley, Uconn, the number 4 runner for the Huskies. She is in 11th. You got Gomez Islinger. And there you are. Now we're in the top 5. And I'll just relinquish to the house announcer doing a great job.
Placing 4th with a time of 21:51, Hallie Hastley from the Uconn Huskies. In 3rd place, with a time of 21:44, Mia Nutham from the Uconn Huskies.
Mia Nahom really ran well, closed. She led the charge really as they came out of that hill the second time, went up around the Parachute Hill. Here's the winner coming.
In 2nd place, with a time of 21:42, Brianna O'Brien from the Uconn Huskies.
Big celebration there out of that Husky crowd. The diminutive O'Brien now, she came flying off the hill and closed actually in the last 100 meters. She and her teammate Nahom, Hasty Nahom O'Brien goes 2-3-4. Pretty hard to beat that in the team standings. Uconn Huskies then came charging out of Suicide Hill to take the title. Here's your champion.
American Women's Cross Country Individual Champion with a time of 21:18 from the SMU Mustangs, Hannah Miller.
Miller, the runner-up a year ago, and the champion this year. I mean, from the starting gun, just smooth out, took control of the race early on, and just held it all the way through, almost like as if she were running a tempo run in control. This is her first title here in the American Athletic Conference. Been cited, been on the awards dais many times. Hannah Miller, SMU.
Oh, no, as soon as I hit you, I bailed over on purpose.
And now for the Women's Team Awards. In 12th place with 323 points, USF. In 11th place with 321 points, UCF. Placing 10th, the Houston Cougars with 245 points. The Cincinnati Bearcats finished 9th with 209 points. In 8th place, the Memphis Tigers with 208 points.
You saw those results in there, the graphics, and those are being read now to our crowd here.
In 5th place,
So now, as the awards finish for the team, let's go back to Scott with some interviews.
Here with Hannah Miller, the 2017 Women's Cross Country Champion for the American. Congratulations. Last year runner-up, this year champ. Fantastic. You looked very smooth out there from the very beginning. You were in the lead. You looked super smooth. You seemed comfortable after the race. Talk about the overall performance today. You felt pretty good out there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt really good. I've had an interesting season. I've been competing all summer in Taiwan and stuff with World University Games, so I've been a bit nervous in my build-up to get the cross-country season right, but I feel like my coach and I have managed it really well. I feel like I'm peaking at this time and leading into regionals. The plan was to just go out. If someone else take it, let them take it for a while, but just feel smooth through the first mile and just slowly build it up, and I felt like I executed that. The last mile was definitely a gut buster, but I love these hills. That's what I've been raised on back in New Zealand, running hills, so absolutely love it, and I couldn't have done it without the support of my team. Amazing group of girls, and yeah, so proud of them all.
Yeah, you talk about the hills. This is an interesting course out here. A lot of hills, a lot of flats, a lot of variety. What did you think of this course today?
Yeah, no, I loved it. It's super interesting. I think it was really good because you could reset your mindset at the top of each hill, so to go into that next phase, really use the downhills and just, yeah, let yourself go. I think it's one of those races you fall in love with, one of those courses, just really enjoy running.
Well, we've got NCAAs coming up. It's exciting stuff. Talk about your prognosis moving forward. How do you think you're preparing for the NCAAs?
Yeah, just keep working hard, just make sure I'm fully recovered from this, go into regionals with a good mindset, and make nationals, and yeah, do it.
Well, good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very good. And there's the SMU Mustangs, the runner-up team here in the conference, Coach Casey's team. And Hannah now joins her team for the photo opportunity. It's a good moment to be on the awards dais in your conference cross-country championships. It's one thing that when these athletes walk around their campus that they've got in common with the swimmers, with the tennis players, with the soccer kids, is, you know, how'd you do in conference? How'd you do in conference? It's a thing that unifies. It's so very special in collegiate athletics. There's Miller, O'Brien, Nahom, Hasty of Uconn, 2, 3, 4, and that's where you hear the PA announcer. Uconn Huskies getting ready to step up for their awards. Here they come. Great area and stores. You think Uconn and Connecticut sets out actually kind of in the country. It's a really bucolic setting, great place to train, a lot of good roads, a lot of good courses out there in and around the farmlands and so on to run. Uconn then, the American Athletic Champions, and that's kind of neat. That really boosts their opportunities going into that Northeast Regional, very competitive Northeast Regional with the Providence Friars there in the Northeast. They're out of the Big East Conference and out of the ACC, Syracuse, and a few other schools as well. Uconn in a very competitive conference coming up here on November 10th. They are the winners here. This is their first team title in the American Athletic. SMU second. Temple. You saw Temple's men third, Temple's women third. They really are doing a great job. You heard Coach Gilly talk about how the conference has become much, much more competitive, top to bottom. I'm very proud of that here in the American.
The Uconn Huskies, women's champions.
Going to be a fun trip back to stores.
The 2017 American Women's Cross Country Freshman of the
Now some special awards being presented. Freshman Award, the True Freshman Men, True Freshman Women, the most outstanding, receiving their award citation now. And I think that UConn gets that. It looks like O'Brien stepping up. A conference runner-up, a true freshman. I think she's going to need a wheelbarrow to take her awards back home. Very happy young lady there. Our most outstanding freshman here in the American. Most conferences do this nationwide. They, very tough to become a freshman in a major athletic conference and have success. And so you want to recognize your outstanding freshman of the year in all of our sports. And that's done pretty much conference-wide, nationwide in the conferences. It's very difficult, growing pains coming out of your high school program, your home, and moving to a new environment and becoming then a freshman of the year. Now, the team awards going, that's Coach J.J. Clark there and his staff at UConn, and they're being presented then the most outstanding coaching staff of the year, doing a great job here in the American this fall. Coach Clark, his assistants, the athletic trainers, and the great and good staff there at UConn. So we crowned the men's team champions, Tulsa, with Coach Gilly, Coach Clark, and we hope to catch Coach Clark here in a moment and maybe get a quick interview with Scott and so forth. Again, big tip of the hat to Temple, doing a great job presenting this meet, and the parents did a good job bringing good weather. And we're going to get Coach Clark right here with Scott to do a quick interview, get a couple comments on how his team did, and we'll roll to that in just a moment. Good view there in Philly. I hope it is good weather where you are in the country. We're so grateful you joined us here at the American Digital Network watching the American Athletic Conference. Okay, Scott, now to you and Mr. Clark.
To the stage area.
Here with Coach Clark of the Uconn Women Huskies, 2017 cross-country champs. Coach, your first conference title. There was a lot of talk about SMU and Tulsa, but you guys came away with the win. Talk about it.
Yeah, and rightfully so. SMU last year dominated the meet with Tulsa, and we were nowhere in the picture. So, but this year was a different year, and the team was very focused and wanted to show what we could do out here in our conference meet.
A lot of great runs out there today. What do you think your chances are moving forward in the NCAAs?
Well, we have a good chance. I always let the meet decide what the results will be. So we go out there, we run hard, and then we see what happens. But I'm very proud of this young group today.
Well, again, Coach, congratulations and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.
A great picture there. Uconn Huskies now celebrating, got their gear on, provided by the conference. And so you see just a few video highlights there. Rodich coming across the line just ahead of Barraza. You see a lot of congratulatories. Coach Peterson giving him a pop there. Preisner in the background. Barraza, what a great day in Philadelphia. Big thank you to the administration and staff at Temple University. Very fine production and job setting up this meet. A lot of work being built up and to the great Chamber of Commerce weather. You like this in your facility. There's the start of the women's race. We saw Miller go out and just continually win. There she is up front. And then through the course of that race, the Uconn Huskies just moved up and took over the team control. Number 141, there's O'Brien leading the charge for the Huskies. A good day. We're glad that you joined us here in the American Digital Network. We're so proud of the things we do in the American Athletic Conference. We think we do it right. And so we hope to have you join us this winter when we have the track and field broadcast coming to you from the Crossplex in Birmingham, Alabama, and, of course, outdoors in May when we're at the campus University of Cincinnati. So, once again, we appreciate your attendance. We thank you so much. You have a safe and wonderful fall. We'll see you next time.